America, mid-autumn. A small town in northern Oregon. Here, amid the fog and forest, life usually flows peacefully. Until the day a man everyone knew went missing. Mark Ellison, the owner of a local construction company. His disappearance sparked one of the most mysterious stories of recent years. A story where the truth turned out to be much darker than anyone could have imagined. Mark was successful, married, with 2 children. He knew almost everyone in the neighborhood and seemed trustworthy. But on November 14th, 2021, he simply didn't come home. His phone was disconnected, his car was missing, and just 24 hours later, the family filed a missing person report. What happened to Mark Ellison? At first, no one believed it was a crime. But then evidence emerged that turned everything upside down. The case was assigned to Detective Sarah Jensen, a veteran of the Salem Police Department. She worked on cases where emotion and logic intertwined, like 2 sides of the same coin. Sarah later recalled,
"I've seen dozens of missing people, but there was something wrong with this case from the start. Too clean, too neat."
Video footage showed Mark leaving his office at 6:47 p.m. He was supposed to meet with his business partner, Jason Miller, to discuss a new contract. But Mark never showed up at the restaurant where they were supposed to meet. 2 days later, his pickup truck was found on the outskirts of town, neatly parked, locked, with the keys inside. No signs of a struggle, no blood, no phone. It felt as if the man had simply vanished. The investigation immediately encountered something strange. Mark's colleagues said he was calm that day, even joking. But his wife, Linda, claimed he had appeared anxious the day before, saying that not everyone in the company can be trusted.
He started receiving some letters, threats. I saw him tear up the envelope, but I didn't say anything. He said, "Everything's under control."
At the time, no one knew exactly what Mark was hiding. But within a week, it became clear that his disappearance was no accident. Ellison Construction's accounts showed that Mark had withdrawn over $150,000 in cash 3 months before his disappearance. When Sarah asked his business partner Jason about this, he replied, "We paid the contractors. Everything is on paper. If you want to check it out, you can." She checked, and not a single contractor confirmed receiving any money. Jason Miller was the person Mark trusted most. They met in college, started a company together, and survived crises together. But behind the facade of friendship lurked debts, conflicts, and resentments. Inconsistencies appeared in Jason's testimony. At first, he claimed they hadn't seen each other on the day of Mark's disappearance. But later he admitted they had met for a couple of minutes at a highway cafe. When investigators reviewed the video, it turned out Jason had lied. He hadn't been at the cafe for a couple of minutes, but for almost 40. And 10 minutes before Mark left, his phone lost signal. That was the first moment Sarah sensed they had reached the brink. Something had happened that night, and only Jason knew what. Jason Miller was the person Mark trusted most. They met in college, started a company together, and survived crises together. But behind the facade of friendship lurked debts, conflicts, and resentments. Inconsistencies appeared in Jason's testimony. At first, he claimed they hadn't seen each other on the day of Mark's disappearance, but later he admitted they had met for a couple of minutes at a highway cafe. When investigators reviewed the video, it turned out Jason had lied. He hadn't been at the cafe for a couple of minutes, but for almost 40. And 10 minutes before Mark left, his phone lost signal. That was the first moment Sarah sensed they had reached the brink. Something had happened that night, and only Jason knew what.
We couldn't arrest him, but we felt like time was running out.
November 25th, 11 days after Mark's disappearance. A local hunter reported an abandoned cabin that, he said, smelled of chemicals and something strange. Inside, they found burnt documents, traces of bleach, and a metal tool with the initials M.E. It was the hammer Mark kept in his office. There were no fingerprints. But chemical analysis revealed traces of blood belonging to a man. While the DNA results were being processed in the lab, Detective Jensen decided to question Jason again. This time he wasn't sure of his answers. When Sarah showed him a photo of the hammer, he turned pale. I don't know where this came from. Maybe someone planted it. It was the first time fear had entered his voice. In mid-December, Detective Jensen received an unexpected call. One of Mark's colleagues reported an old webcam hidden in the office storage closet. The recording was Mark's diary. He spoke quietly, almost in a whisper. If someone is watching this, it means I've figured it out too much. They're watching me. You can't trust anyone. Over the next few days, the video became key evidence. It showed Mark meeting with mysterious people no one had seen before. One of them was a man in a black jacket with whom Mark exchanged envelopes. Investigators began to suspect that the case went beyond personal conflicts. It could be linked to external threats, perhaps competitors in the construction business or criminal elements. In January 2022, something happened that changed the course of the investigation. The lab confirmed that the blood in the cabin belonged to Mark Ellison. Jason Miller was called back. This time, he faced not just the question, "Where is Mark?" but proof of death. He confessed, not completely, but enough for the police to understand the scale of the betrayal. It wasn't intentional. We just wanted to scare him, but things got out of hand. And so, from friendship came tragedy. The investigation was able to piece together the full picture, and the town, which had seemed calm, was forever changed. After Jason's confession, Mark's family's life was thrown into chaos. Linda, his wife, tried to maintain a normal life for the children, but fear and pain were everywhere.
Every day I asked myself, why? Why did this happen to him? Why to us?
The children tried to figure out where their father was. They searched for his photographs, videos, even old letters, trying to sense his presence. But all that remained were memories and the official confession of the investigation. The community was also shocked. Mark's colleagues were divided. Some blamed Jason, while others doubted what happened. In February 2022, the story made national news. Title: Business Partner Accidentally Kills Friend. Journalists wrote about hidden accounts, questionable deals, and Mark's warnings to friends and family. But Jason's confession was the most resonant. The tragedy began with personal conflicts, ego, and misunderstandings. The story quickly became a symbol of how trust and friendship can crumble, leaving only pain and questions in their wake. In March 2022, Jason Miller appeared in court. He was charged with manslaughter and concealment of evidence. The hearing lasted several weeks, during which the public actively followed the trial. Witnesses testified about financial fraud, secret negotiations, and threats Mark had received before his disappearance. Ultimately, the court found Jason guilty. He was sentenced to prison, but for the family, this did not bring Mark back. The fate of a man who knew too much and trusted too easily was over. Legally, but not emotionally. The city of Springfield was shocked. Many wondered, could this tragedy have been prevented? Local residents began to pay more attention to their friends and neighbors, but fear remained. It showed that no one is immune. Even the closest people can hide something dangerous. Schools and local businesses began conducting training sessions on safety and trusting communication. Mark's story left a mark on everyone who knew him. Despite Jason's confession, questions remained. What exactly was Mark hiding? Was his death an accident, or a consequence of his investigations and observations? His notes and recordings continue to spark debate among experts. Each fragment is like a puzzle piece that will never be fully assembled. Mark Ellison's story has become the stuff of legend in the small town. People still talk about strange lights near the bridge, shadows that appear at night, and the feeling that someone is still watching. It's a reminder that friendship, trust, and human nature can turn to tragedy. And even when the truth is revealed, the echoes of the past remain with us forever.